Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
The First Lady of New York Radio, Joan Hamburg, entertaining and informative. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
I always love checking in with my pal, my former radio husband, the one and only Arthur Schwartz, the food maven. Arthur knows more about food and more about places and just tells you the real truth. And he's a really good cook and has spent a large part of his his adult life in Italy, travels all over the place. And he and Bob, his partner, are like cruise mavens. If I ever want to know something about a cruise, I'll check in with the team and find out where they've been, where they're going, what ship is really great. And Arthur and I had a lot of adventures because in the old days, we would take our listeners traveling with us. And that really was an adventure of its own kind. And those were, we're not doing as much of that. Although, Arthur, you're still traveling a lot. And pretty much.
I did go somewhere last year, exactly a year ago. We took a misbegotten ship. Is that the right word?
Yes. Very delicate. I'm proud.
We went. Let me say, you and I have sailed on the best ships there are.
It's true.
Crystal Line, Regent Line, they really are fabulous. And I've also been on others that you have not, because I was hired a number of times to be a cruise lecturer or food demonstrator. And so I've been on a couple of these really small cruise ships, Seabourn, for instance.
How was that?
Well, that was wonderful. It was also years ago. So the Norwegian was because in the middle of COVID, when Bob and I thought we have to get out of here, we booked a Caribbean cruise, which I normally wouldn't do. I don't love, the islands are not my kind of thing. But it was it was a ship with a nice spa, and it was a week-long trip. What could be bad?
No, good.
So, and I always say about sailing, cruising, it's not about the ports, because, you get to a port in the morning, you get off the ship, you walk around, you have lunch, and you go back to the ship. I mean,
exactly.
You don't really get to see a place, but you get to decide if maybe you want to go back, which, by the way, on my first introduction to Barcelona was on a ship, but I've been back because I love the place. Anyway, so we booked this cruise, and everybody urged us to cancel because of COVID. And so we did. 2 weeks before the cruise, we said we can't go, and we got a credit. 2 weeks go by, and the cruise ship line, the Norwegian line, canceled the cruise, and anybody who had not already canceled got a refund.
Canceled, yeah.
They got a refund, and we only got a credit. So we ended up having this big credit that we had to use by the end of the year, and so we booked a Norwegian. What do you call it when they go from one side of the Atlantic to the other? I never remember the name. The word. Anyway,
transatlantic.
Well, no, not, this is a ship that was not made for transatlantic, the Norwegian, whatever we were on. These ships are made for cruising, and they really are designed differently. And in fact, even though we were sailing in the spring last year, this Norwegian ship made so much noise crossing the Atlantic that my neighbors in the next cabin thought there were dogs on board barking in the middle of the night.
Oh, God.
And when I said, no, sir, I think that was just the noise of the ship. And his wife said, I told you so. It was so noisy. But we've been on the Queen Mary for three times, and that's where we're going again. The only thing that was wrong with Norwegian were the people who were on the ship. The ship itself was nice. But anyway. Now we're going
Okay,
on the Queen Mary.
And you like that
I don't want to get on a plane, Joan.
And
So-
just for your anxiety or just the mess at the airports?
The mess of the airports and coming home last year by plane was not only a disaster emotionally, but after that, my sciatica was terrible for a month because of the strain on my back and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. It's just such a hassle.
Right.
And the Queen Mary docks 15 minutes from my house.
I know, that's so
We
lucky.
take a
And
cab to the ship.
and that's it.
6 days later, we're in Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get picked up by a car and driver that takes us to Bath, where we're going to be stationed for 4 days and use Bath as a jumping off point for a couple other places like Cardiff we want to see. I'm going to go to Cardiff, have some Welsh rarebit for lunch, and come back.
And is that a
Anyway,
calm
we'll have
trip?
10 days in England,
Yeah.
and then we come back on the ship.
But is
and
that
I-
a calm trip? The waters are
calm.
generally calm.
Listen, we're crossing. You mean the cross Atlantic thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not that it's at the end of August when we're going, it will be calm.
Uh-huh.
The ocean will be about as calm as it gets. But the Queen Mary was built for transatlantic crossings, so it's literally a different
Better.
design of a ship.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't look like a cruise ship. It's got a pointy hull. I don't know the differences really, but I do know that it's very comfortable because I've been on the ship 3 times now.
Right.
So
It
I
sounds
know what
great.
to expect, which is that the main dining room is not the place to eat.
Mhm.
Although once in a while maybe they're having some special, but they have other eating venues, including a very nice pub. It's English after all.
Mhm.
They have a nice spa, tea in the afternoon, very good lectures and entertainment,
Nice.
and so a week goes by very quickly.
No, it sounds great, and it's
It's gonna be
relaxing. It
terrific.
sounds.
And as Bob keeps telling people, and Arthur won't have to cook every day.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a break, even though you're a great cook and you don't
No,
mind
you know
it.
what? I need a break. Like today, I even need a break. But actually,
Why are you having company?
No, even if we don't have company. Listen, this is something I only realized in the last few years when I
What?
tried to do other things with my time, that I already have something that I do well that is a craft, and that does take my mind out of the
Whatever.
moment, out of the moment.
Yes.
And that's cooking. So I like to cook, but then again, I don't love to clean up, and I'm a messy cook, meaning I use a lot of pots. I try not to, but what can I do? Bob is very, very good about helping with that, but still, and also, as my mother always said, I like somebody to carry the food to the table, and I don't have to do the dishes.
That's
So it's not necessarily that the food is going to be better.
no.
But there are some things that I am getting. We live in Brooklyn, and you can get sort of almost anything you want. But what I just discovered was a new fish and chips place. Well, it's not actually new. I talked to the owner when we went because he has a very nice counter in the front, and in the back there's a garden. What people don't realize about Brooklyn is that so many restaurants have gardens in the back. So it's a really nice feature of Brooklyn restaurants. Anyway, this place, he told me he has 2 food trucks, and he was getting a third, and he needed a place to do all the prep for the food trucks. He ended up at this location, which is not nobody would walk by this place, but he didn't care because he was only using it as a kitchen. So he put in this kitchen. He realized, well, we could also have a little restaurant. But on Friday and Saturday, he's not Jamaican or even Caribbean for that matter, but he has a smoker outside in front of the restaurant, and he's going to be making jerk chicken on Fridays and Saturdays.
That's nice.
So, yeah,
like
with
that.
a real smoker. It's not just grilled. So we have a number of places that sell jerk chicken, of course.
But this is the
Caribbean
real thing.
population. But most of the Jamaican places are just grills. The real deal is a smoked thing, and he's got smoke. So that's something to look forward to eating.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
And Joan, I don't have to go to Katz's downtown anymore for pastrami.
Where do you go?
Well, it's a new place in what I call Flatbush, because I grew up in Flatbush, but what is these days called the Prospect Lefferts Gardens Historic Community or whatever. It literally is a landmark neighborhood now. From Flatbush Avenue, it's Flatbush Avenue just south of the Botanic Gardens in Prospect Park. So I always give this as a landmark, the Bond Bread Factory. But anybody who grew up in Brooklyn
knows
what that is. But it was the competitor to Wonder Bread, sliced white bread. And we had this big Bond Bakery right south of Prospect Park. And the building is still there. It may be landmarked. It has a lot of different businesses in it now, but it has a big tower and I still think of it as the Bond Bread Factory. So you go down maybe 2 more blocks, some of the best streets in Brooklyn, Prospect Lefferts Gardens. In fact, you could do, I know there are tours of it, including house tours, but there are some big mansions with big gardens around them in there, as well as beautiful Edwardian era townhouses that sell for millions of dollars these days, and tree-lined streets, beautiful. But right on Flatbush Avenue is a place called Moe's, M-O''S, Moe's Pastrami and Burgers. Mo is, we all know, short for Muhammad.
Uh-huh.
So listen to this. It's brisket, pastrami, and corned beef are the main events here. It's not a delicatessen. That's all they have in salads and burgers. And it's halal meat. It is sensational meat. The pastrami is nicely smoked, lots of coriander, just fatty enough. Same with the corned beef. Well, no
right.
seasoning. But anyway, and it's owned by a Yemeni man whose name is Mustafa, but he has 2 sons who are both Mo's. The eldest son in a Muslim family is often named Muhammad. So his older son is Muhammad. Anyway, he has a lot of sons. They were all off from school on Monday when I went. And so the place had his 5 sons, ranging in age from, 20, young 20s down to 11.
And anyway, it was delicious?
No, we've been there many times at this point. It's very delicious. Bob gets the brisket, which comes with some dunking juices, like a French dip.
Right, love that.
I get a pastrami sandwich. We took a friend of ours who's a lifelong Brooklynite himself. He really, even though not Jewish, he really appreciated this. He got it. And we just think it's, and by the way, so there's a very famous place called David's Brisket in Bed-Stuy on Nostrand Avenue. And we always say it's such a Brooklyn thing because it's a Yemeni family making Jewish food in a black neighborhood. So,
funny,
and
yeah.
Very busy, and still there. And just because we happened, long story, but we ended up there, a couple months ago. And it was very disappointing after years of it being terrific. And then literally the day after it was disappointing, one of my neighbors told me about Moe's. And he said, Mo is the owner, whose real name is Mustafa. Mo was part of the David's Brisket business, but he left and he's on his own now with his sons. So we went, and it's like the old David's Brisket. The quality is really high. So I know you have a good.
Was it busy?
Delicatessen near you, but there's almost nothing.
We have a couple
left in Brooklyn. What?
I said we have a couple of.
Yeah, you have a couple of good delis, but it's hard. You remember the old days? Every neighborhood had a good deli.
That's right. And even years ago, when we moved in here, there were practically delis on every corner, but that's changed. My husband I'm not a big delicatessen person, but oh my gosh, his favorite, corned beef and pastrami. Boring. Fresh cut turkey sandwiches.
Well, this place
on
is
really good rye bread.
corned beef pastrami, and they do make a Reuben sandwich. And in fact, I'm not a corned beef guy; I'm a pastrami guy. But Shayna, do Roseanne? Roseanne, of course. Roseanne and Michael
Yes,
have
of
a
course.
daughter named Shayna. Shayna's blossomed into a fabulous woman, and she adores corned beef because she has some nostalgia for corned beef. So I didn't want to take her to this place until I was sure the corned beef was good. So I went and had a Reuben sandwich. It was the best Reuben sandwich I've had in years, because most of these places that make Reubens, they totally overdo it. This is just the right amount of everything. Anyway, it was really good corned beef. So we took Shayna, and she agreed this is really good corned beef.
She loved it. That's good.
Usually I cook.
And is your friend, I was going to say, is she a good eater like her family?
I would not say that Roseanne is a good eater.
She's not.
I would say that Shayna is a great eater. She's a great appreciator of food. Yes,
that's
she
good.
Cooks a little, but she lives in an incredibly chic studio apartment with a really beautiful little kitchen. But she confesses she doesn't really cook. By the way, she just got her master's degree, so she's been pretty busy
in
early childhood and special ed from the Bank Street School. Really good school.
Good for her. Yeah, it's great school. Good for her.
Which
is great. So
it's a lot of work. You forget how much work school is.
I know. But let me ask you, when you cook like you do almost every day, do you plan menus, or is it spur of the moment?
No, you got to do some planning. I mean, I knew I plan around what I'm buying, I guess. I must say I'm a very good shopper. And recently, like a few days ago, what's it, Thursday? So it must have been Monday. They had these, by the way, I'm buying a lot of out of season, in quotes, I'm putting that, out of season produce, because, we get things from all over, and someplace all over it's going to be good. And I always trust Mexican peppers. And the other day there were these beautiful red peppers from Mexico, $1.99 a pound. So I bought a bunch and I roasted them off, and I was going to eat. We actually have a few pieces left for lunch today. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I wanted to make. So that encouraged me to make a Roman style chicken cacciatore. So that's what we had for dinner last night.
Sounds good.
Usually those are the kind of things we have at lunch, and then we eat something super light at dinner. And Bob,
that's a good idea.
Problem eating yogurt or cottage cheese with a banana for dinner. So that makes my life.
But is that good enough? Does that make you happy, or you need something more?
Oh, I whatever. I mean, sometimes there are leftovers I'll heat up or something. You know what? If I've had a big meal at lunch, I mainly just want fruit at night, truthfully. And so we eat a lot of fruit around here.
But what's in season now?
So I mean, what's in season? Berries. Strawberries are almost always disappointing to me lately, so I haven't been buying strawberries. There've been some very good grapes from Chile. What else? Cantaloupe is starting to come in from I don't know where.
Yeah.
Where?
We have watermelon, but not good. I don't know.
No, I bought a
watermelon
the other day. It was excellent, I've got to say. Bob thought it
mine
was
wasn't good.
Oh, well, it's not watermelon season yet, but it's a tough season for fruit. I've been eating more asparagus, a lot of asparagus. I must say.
Yeah, well, they're local.
They've been very good, and even at my fancy grocery store around the corner, like the overpriced store, they were only $3.99 a pound. So that's not too bad. And so we eat a lot of asparagus. And truthfully, I don't do much with them. Last night I dolled them up with a tiny bit of butter and salt, but that's it. Don't need much.
I love asparagus.
I saute them. I boil them. I was into roasting them in the past, but not so much this year.
Do you
Mainly
eat
because
fish
I don't want to
at
turn
all?
the oven on just for a few asparagus.
Yeah, I know it's. But do you eat fish, or What's your food of choice? Your protein of
Well,
choice?
we eat everything, and we do eat fish. I tend to. I make. We love tomato sauce around here. So I'll make a tomato sauce and then cook some cod in it. And if I want to doll it up, I'll put in some cut up olives, capers. I always have these in the house: olives, capers. I don't add anchovy, except on rare occasion I will, but Bob doesn't love it, and he can detect it, even if I'm only putting in a small anchovy. But I do get away with it in my Caesar dressing. No, I do use anchovy fillets in my Caesar dressing, and he doesn't complain. You know what? I'm always looking for a little project. And I think I'm going to start making some fresh pasta, Joan. I haven't done this in years.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, I made some a couple of weeks ago, following a formula, I forget from whom. It wasn't good. It was okay. I mean, I for myself, I rolled it out and I boiled it and ate it with some soup. It was okay. But I'm going to do this. It's not a big deal after all. I used to do it all the time. And it is better than anything you can buy.
Yeah, homemade, I'm
My
sure.
next neighbor, who I adore, said to me the other day, well, why? You can buy Raffettos. But, I used to love Raffettos, but now Raffettos seems too thick for me.
So, because now you're spoiled, you're used to the homemade.
Well, I don't know. I use dry pasta. We don't eat much fresh pasta at all. And when I want to make Jewish pasta,
like noodles,
there's a brand that I swear by, and I go out of my way to get. I think it's only sold in kosher supermarkets, and it's Kaimach, Keimach is the brand, and they're called Hamish noodles. And they have wide ones, narrow ones, the fine egg noodles that I put into soup, and they also make very good bow ties. So if I make kasha varnishes, which I do love and I do make, I use
that.
Yeah. So I have to go all the way to Midwood. It's a 20-minute drive to the Pomegranate Supermarket, which is the largest kosher supermarket in the world, even larger than anything in Israel, I'm told.
And what do you get? You get the noodles?
The noodles.
You get the
I stock
noodles.
up on the noodles. I buy some other things too, but not. You know what they have that's very tempting, and I do sometimes buy these things. But this supermarket caters to many different ethnic groups. They all happen to be kosher Jews, but from different places, and so they sell pastry dough and wonton wrappers and all kinds of dough frozen to cater to all these communities. And then they do have some frozen foods that are, like frozen Sephardic appetizers.
That sounds good.
They have prepared foods. I don't buy their prepared foods, although years ago I used to buy, I haven't in a long time, I used to buy some of the salads that they had pre-packed, but I don't anymore anyway.
And I used to buy
what am I going to make today? I am craving carbonara.
So,
and unless Bob keeps me away from it for one reason or another, I'm going to have, when I get off with you, I'm going to have to go dice up my guanciale. I bought some beautiful, you know what guanciale is?
Tell me.
Pork cheeks. Pork jowls, as they say in the South.
And what do
they look like? In Italy, it's cured like pancetta is cured.
Uh-huh.
And it's a fatty, gelatinous thing, pork jowls. And so, you just cut it up however you want, and you render out a lot of the fat, and that's the base for your carbonara. Doesn't it sound good?
It sounds very serious, like really good.
Yeah, well, carbonara is a very easy thing in theory, but not all that easy in practice, because it's raw egg that you're cooking just with the heat of the pasta and the fat from the whatever you're rendering, either bacon or guanciale, that pancetto, guanciale, or even in the old days when you couldn't buy those products, I used to make with American bacon. So the eggs will curdle and become scrambled eggs if you're not careful. But it's all it is whatever pork product you're going to use, bacon or guanciale, and egg and cheese and salt and pepper. You probably don't even need salt.
That's it?
Pardon me?
I said that doesn't sound that complicated.
No, it's not complicated. It's just you got to get the knack of. There are several ways to do this, and I'm noticing lately because are you on TikTok, Joan?
I'm not exactly on it, but I know
I don't
it.
see you yourself posting anything, but do you look at
No,
TikTok?
I don't. I don't post a lot. I post things for work on all these sites, but
I don't
not
post anything
personal.
on TikTok, but I watch it because it's both entertaining and educational. And there's a huge amount of cooking stuff, better cooking demonstrations and lessons and video than there is on any food TV.
Now I'll have to go back for it. You know what I wanted to ask you? Is Sunset Park still filled with Chinese restaurants and shops? And
Yes, Chinatown, sure. I mean,
I used
Sunset
to
Park
love
is
that.
funny because the upper parts of Sunset Park are Chinese mainly, and the lower parts, because it's on a hill, are Mexican. And there are a few blocks there where, like, the Mexicans meet the Chinese. So there are a lot of Mexican restaurants in Sunset Park along 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue. But then when you get to 7th and 8th Avenue, it's Chinese. And very good. Let me say, it's a middle-class Chinese neighborhood. So, of course, the food resources are going to be terrific.
So, Arthur, when you make a serious lunch like you're thinking of making now.
Well, carbonara is not a serious lunch.
No, it would be for me. But, okay, so you'll make something like that, delicious, homemade. So you'll sit down, you'll set the table, you no standing up and grabbing lunch. It's a real lunch.
Lunch, I would say 90% of the time, we eat lunch in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a table for two in front of windows. We have beautiful view out our windows, the gardens, as well as the Montauk Club, which is beautiful.
Right.
And we'll eat in the kitchen. Dinner, if it's last night we actually had a big dinner and we did eat it in the bedroom. But usually I don't like to eat sloppy food in the bedroom.
Right. What'd you make?
But if it's that was the cacciatore with the peppers.
Okay.
And asparagus. That's what we had for dinner. And I didn't make any starch, but we had some really, really good bread. So we did a little dunking because we had good sauce to dunk into.
Sounds pretty good.
It was. I have to say it was delicious and enough for Bob to wake up this morning and say, that was a really good dinner last night.
He's a lucky guy.
But
I know.
Yeah,
I love to hear it.
I don't know what he's going to get today. Tomorrow, I told you tomorrow we're going to go try that jerk chicken.
Yeah, let me know. It sounds delicious.
We belong to the Montauk Club now.
Uh-huh.
And although we do not have good food service at the Montauk Club, we have some food service. And the young cook over there makes good hamburgers. So I think, in fact, we're going to go to the club tonight and eat burgers.
Right. Sounds good to me.
Drink. Pardon me?
I said it all sounds good to me. Thank you, Arthur. I love catching up.
Crystal is going to do this. Crystal, her name is Crystal. And she's very, very sweet. Can't say she's the best cook in the world. She doesn't try. She hasn't gone beyond what she's calling little plates. And I keep, encouraging her to maybe make a baked pasta or something.
Nice.
Baked pasta is underrated. If I was having, I don't anymore, but if I was having a lot of people, I would make a big thing of baked pasta. It doesn't have to be lasagna.
What would it be?
So many other ways to go. Pardon me?
Would you make manicotti?
I make manicotti. I don't. Not to say I wouldn't. I do make and this is manicotti. I do make crepes. I do love to make a tray full of filled crepes with some kind of sauce. That's another thing that you could stick in the oven at the last minute. But no, I saw somebody do something yesterday on TikTok that I may try. This woman stuffed her shells with just a piece of mozzarella.
No ricotta.
Well, I mean, you could add ricotta too, but that's already getting elaborate, isn't it? I mean, stuffing shells with ricotta is a job. Stuffing shells with a piece of mozzarella is less of a job.
Yeah.
And I'm all for less work. Also, I'm also for fewer ingredients. I have to say that, I was just discussing this with Roseanne the other day, is that we're not interested in fancy food. As you get older, you want to edit out a lot of stuff. And that's, like I said, with asparagus, we eat them just plain. Who needs the sauce?
And they're so good.
And
I tell you, sounds good.
Even when asparagus are expensive, they're not expensive. Think about it. I mean, at $3.99 a pound, there was really enough asparagus there in a pound to make for 3 people. So we're talking a little over $1 for. You go to a restaurant, you're going to get 6 spears of asparagus with some vinaigrette.
Like gold.
$20.
Perfect. Anyway, Arthur, I love catching up with you. Say hello to Bob, and you're making me really hungry.
All right, well, let's do this again before we go to England.
Too old to talk.
Have you been to Bath?
Yes. And I love your trip. You're going to really enjoy it. Mm-hmm.
I think I like my trip too.
It sounds like a terrific trip. Well, I'll talk to you. I hope
London, because every time I've been to England, that's where I go is London.
So
and I never get to see the rest of the country. So that's what we're doing this time.
And it's really, you're going to enjoy the scenery. All right, I'll check in with you.
By the way, I have to say, if anybody is interested in this kind of not getting on a plane, we lucked out because the Queen Mary is going from England when we get dropped off up to the fjords in Norway and then back. And that's how we ended up with 10 days in between the 2 sailings. Normally, the Queen Mary goes to Southampton in England, not Long Island, and then immediately turns around and comes back to New York. But it's a nice ship, and it's a good line, and it's right here in Brooklyn.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, my dear, I'm going to talk to you.
You always.
You too, honey. I'm going to talk to you before you go.
Bye.
Send my love. Bye-bye. The one and only Arthur Schwartz. Okay, everyone. I'm Joan Hamburg. I love hearing about his foodie life and what he cooks and what he does. And, boy, I've known him a really long time. And I love being with all of you. I did something so great the other night. I went with my good friend Maxine to Carnegie Hall, where Renee Fleming, who's probably one of the most famous singers of all our time, was performing there. Do you know Renee? She's extraordinary. 5 Grammys, the U.S. National Medal of Arts. She has just been singing at major occasions, Nobel Peace Prize ceremony, and it goes on and on. She even sang at the Super Bowl, the Star Spangled Banner. And beautiful, incredibly gifted. Carnegie Hall was packed. And also a famous pianist, Evgeny Kissin, and he is too absolutely amazing. One of the most popular, famous, gifted classical pianists of his generation, and he's been working with the greatest orchestras all over the world, and it's special. We had a really extraordinary evening, and what's more beautiful than Carnegie Hall? You know, you forget. Every time I go there, it's like I'm overwhelmed by how fabulous it looks and how great the acoustics are. Anyway, a special evening, enjoying special talent, a packed house full of appreciative people who are so grateful to be there. And we're all grateful that we live in one of the greatest cities in the world, or live near enough to take advantage of all the good things. So relax, enjoy, much more coming. I'm Joan Hamburg.